gigantic gigabust out of this 2-month falling wedge that began 3 days ago, is Bitcoin right now about to repeat one of the biggest, bustiest patterns in history. With the baby bears squealing like little toddlers that got their toys taken away from them by their mommies, something massive is about to happen on this chart, and I can promise you that it will be big. Right now, the price of Bitcoin is sitting almost in no man's zone, as we're directly in the center of where the price has traded for the past 3 months. But as you can see here, up approaching 10% from the lows that we've put in over those last 3 months as well. And now with the beginning of this bust out breakout, I'm going to talk to you about exactly what I'm seeing on these charts. One chart also specifically that I think will absolutely wet your whistle, and more importantly, something that will absolutely add to the insane volatility we're about to witness this week. So if we take a squeak peek, we're going to continue follow along with this like year-long inverse head and shoulders that is still, in my opinion, in the middle of breaking out. So very important to watch. Still, I believe we're about to get a much bigger move off of the MMI over the next week or so. And looking at Bitcoin's 30-day chart, we see as well, we are so close to these tips touching. It will be within days, very likely, if we can even just hold where we're at right now, it will be this week. So it's very exciting. We are going to see a very big macro signal. When was the last time that happened? Well, if we take a squeak peek back into the past year, when was the last time we got across like this? Back in May of 2019. What was happening back in May of 2019? Well, things were getting extremely big. Now, we actually ended up trading down and not setting a lower low, but dumping there because of, we know why, because of the pandemic. But again, this is a very big long-term macro signal, and even if you would have bought in before this massive dump, you still would have been in profit ultimately, and you would have still caught like the beginning of the bull run. So even though this one was not a very good flip, the previous one, absolutely, if we go all the way back here, you can see back last time we flipped here, August of 2015. Well, what happened last time back in August of 2015? We're really going back here. But you can see, insanely good time to buy, literally like a couple weeks after the bottom, and then it was like straight up. You would have bought Bitcoin at like $220 and then rode it up to $20,000, right? So again, this is a very long-term, very exciting, very big signal, but I want to actually talk about something much more important in a second. I do want to highlight this chart as well, that we have broken this trend line, this downtrending line of resistance. These breakouts, as you can see, if we go to many other breakouts, they can take time, just a couple of days. So I'm not expecting a ton of time that this could take. But I think it's very likely that once we get the clear resolution of the debt ceiling, which has not been signed and completely gone through Congress and everything yet, is expected to be later this week. So once that happens, I think it's very likely we see this continue as well. But also very importantly, Kevin Svensson talking about this, a daily RSI trend line showing short-term momentum increase here, basically saying that if you would have used this indicator alone itself over the past, it looks like roughly like the last year, then you would have benefited and caught pretty much every move. He said here, these trend line breakdowns are some of the most reliable signals of the past year, and we're creating a new daily RSI trend line right now. He does expect bullish price action to continue along a new trend line, and we're basically in the middle of seeing this again. And Titan of Crypto on Twitter talking about this, Bitcoin progressing in a descending channel for almost 2.5 years. Actually, I had a similar channel like this back in the bear market of 2018 and 2019, that once it started breaking out of that, it was a very good macro pattern to be watching. It's not something really most people talk about. In fact, I think back at the time, I didn't think anyone else was talking about back in 2018 or 2019. And now he actually has found one just on our current charts. And all I'm saying is, from my experience, these type of descending channels, especially large macro multi-year descending channels, are actually pretty accurate, and they actually are pretty good for detecting momentum and trying to find out when Bitcoin is going to bust. He says here, Bitcoin is in a pressure cooker, progressing in this descending channel for almost 2.5 years. It's now sandwiched between the upper line of resistance on this channel and the 200 weekly simple moving average. One of the two will have to give, and I absolutely agree with that as well. We're facing a long-term trend, but what I like about this as well is, you can see, my favorite part about these channels is that the middle line, the heart line of these channels, is usually what's very important. So we see the lower level right here of the descending support. We see the upper level of resistance. And I would actually even draw a few more lines in here, and maybe I'll even do that for the next video. I'll make my own version of this. But the heart line obviously captures so much of this. Massive resistance here, massive support here, here, resistance here, and we actually traded a couple of weeks and broke down, and then found resistance support right here. So the heart lines of these descending channels are usually where a lot of the decisive price action moves take place. But now we're at the very tippy top of this, and that's why I'm excited about that chart specifically. Also as well, we are holding on the GBM indicator. We're holding at the very tippy top of that. After flipping this, as you can see, as I've gone over, after flipping it, completely falling below it, did mark the end of the bear market and the beginning of the switch, the pivot into the bull markets as well. And if we look at Bitcoin's weekly chart, still holding on the 200-week moving average, still in the middle of this macro falling wedge pattern. And on the daily chart also, where we're finding that resistance right now, the last level of resistance before we maybe have the chance to break above 30K is exactly at the 50-day moving average right here. We broke above the 21-day moving average right here at about 27,000, had a nice big bust, but we found resistance exactly at the next moving average. That's why it's so important to not really overcomplicate things with indicators. Using a few basic indicators, you can get a very good idea of where price is likely to go if it breaks up or down. Okay, so we break this one, where do we go? Just right up to the next one. The big thing about this though is that if we break this level here, if we break this level, we're breaking the downtrending resistance of the past few months, and ultimately just further validating a continuation of upside of the past 5 months that we've been going up of the entirety of 2023. So the 21 and 50 were the last two short-term moving averages that were in our way. Now the only one in our way is the 50-day moving average, which that is why we're finding resistance here. If you want to look at a chart and say, wow, why are we stopped right here? Because right here, this moving average, if we can break above this, then Bitcoin is going to bust through 30K, and it has the chance of actually initiating the real bust that I think a lot of people are waiting for. A lot of people they're looking at this, and to be honest, it's not very exciting yet, but this is the exact moment where it can switch to being very bullish like that, to where so many people flood the internet and they're like, whoa, what just happened? Why did we just pump? What I'm telling you is that we're at the verge of one of those moments, and it has not happened yet. But this is the exact type of setup that you look for to try to predict that happening. Right now, we're in the middle of that, and it could take an hour, it could take a couple of days, it could take a week or so, and we'll continue watch it we'll continue to watch it as we get more price action develop, and especially as we get a concrete resolution to the debt ceiling. But yes, we're on the verge of finally getting some real excitement back in this market. I think concretely breaking above the mid $30,000 level will bring some really renewed interest back into Bitcoin, and I'll tell you why. Well, if we go to Bitcoin's weekly chart, okay, we have been below 30K since May of 2022. It's been an entire year where this has been resistance. Okay, this entire 12-month period we're in has been below 30K, give or take a couple of days above 30K just recently. And with that being said, the entire bull market, 30K was the hard floor where we found support. And if we ultimately break this level here, guys, it gets very bullish very fast, and all-time highs are not close, but if we break 30K, that's when we start watching for some really interesting altcoin movement and just massive pumping in general. And take advantage of massive bonuses with BitGet and Femex below. Specifically, if you sign up with Femex, you can earn up to 10,000 free XPT by trading. And if you just create an account with BitGet below, you get 10 free USDT just by signing up. And without any further ado, it's for me.